Yes, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, tankers of this universe, to the channel. My name is Martin Dogger, and we're gonna take a look at the T-62A, which has been buffed in update 6.7. And you'd almost forget about this between all the, well, avalanche of gifts from Chris and boxers and snow globes and snowflakes and clementines and ghost shots and tabletop adventures not working and all that kind of stuff. But this is, this was discussed before. I've made a video. Is it really needed? Does the T-62A really need a buff? In my opinion, and I've said that before, in my opinion it does not. It really does not. Before people are watching this game and thinking, oh, this is just Bushka's video, he released the video on the T-62A as well, you stupid copycat. Well, I mean, there's only so much we can cover, and people want to watch stuff that's relevant, and this is pretty much relevant. And we're looking at Tech 2 here from the Kareem clan, the creme de la creme. And he sent me this game. He sent an earlier one in the T-62A as well. He said, well, you might want to use this one's a little bit better. And I asked him, do you think you would have been able to gain this result in the T-62A with 5 degrees of gunner pressure? And he said, well, yeah, maybe I would have been able to, because I quite know how to play the T-62A, but yeah, the 7 degrees of gunner pressure makes it a little bit more flexible. And same is going to go for that for the next game in this video. There's going to be 2 games. And when you have situations like this, it doesn't really make any difference, as you can see. You get the T-62A on flat ground, it will work, no problem whatsoever. You have an angled front plate, you have tracks that will absorb some shots, you have an ammo rack on your right hand side, you have a really strong turret and a monstrous gun. But the T-62A as it wasn't, well, that competitive. It was one of the tier 10 mediums with the lowest win rate of them all, and a lot of people seem to struggle in it because they play the tank, they don't really try to figure out what the strengths are of this tank. And the 62A has got a really good mobility, has a rock hard turret, and yes, it has only got 5 degrees of gunner pressure. But it used to be the main difference between this tank and the Object 140. This one had the better turret and a slightly worse front plate, but a better turret and better mobility, and then it was able to do its stuff with 5 degrees of gunner pressure. And the 140 was more or less the same type of tank, but it had 1 degree of gunner pressure more, it had slightly worse mobility, but a better front plate. So yeah, it was more or less the same tank, but you have to drive it slightly differently. Not so much now. I mean, it seems that the T-62A has got all the cards now. It has a great gun, even better than a Leopard in terms of gun handling stats, which is kind of stupid because it is a Russian tank, and Russian tanks were mostly renowned for their bad gun handling, but not so much the T-62A now. It is that's really freaking solid, and that turret, it can bounce, as you can see here. If you face up other tanks, they will have problems. Yes, the cheeks can be penetrated, but in the current meta, in the raw DPM brawl that WoT Tanks Blitz is now, this tank it's great. It's epic. It's a true Tsar of the battlefield. But as said, it had the lowest average win rate of basically all the tier 10 medium tanks. I don't think it has the lowest average win rate of all the tier 10 medium tanks which had been in the game from the beginning, but it sure was one of the worst of them all if you were looking at the average win rate for 90 days. And I know there are people who are telling me, well, it's not how you should look at tanks, it's not how you should do it, you should look at the win rate, you should look at other things as well. Well, quite true. While Tech 2 gets a great mastery, as you can see here. 5k damage dealt, a lot of experience from capturing that base, and shout out to the mouse. Instrumental in winning. Here's what 2 good players in the team of 7 can do versus 7 Muppets, basically. And the Entity Gaming YT has got another great game on on Oasis bombs, and he's going to show us that gun depression is vital. Yeah, I think it's vital in this game, but it's also going to make this tank a little bit more flexible. And as I was saying, you were looking at the 90 degrees win rate, Martin. Yes, if you look at the 90 of the win rate of all time, the Leopard 1 is at the bottom, and the T-62A is just above at 51.31 win rate of all time. And yes, the tank has been in the game quite a lot, that's obvious, so it all fluctuates, you get, it all evens out, you get the Progetto M40 Mod 65 on top. But if you're also looking at these types of tanks, you can see that the Leopard and the T-62A have about the same amount of players in the tank, and the Progetto has 4K of them. It's also a matter of getting people in tanks that are not often played. If you look at the 90 days win rate, the Progetto is way on top at 58, the STB is 57.46, and the WZ121 at 56.29, and the E50 at 56.26. So that's really high. It's really high. The Leopard is at the bottom, 51.60. The T-62A seems to have gained a little bit at 52.27, but the damage ratio is not brilliant. It is only 1.13. It's the lowest of them all. The T-62A is the lowest damage ratio tier 10 medium tank currently. And of course there will always be one top tank and one bottom tank. But Wargaming, you've just kept buffing the tank. The tank was strong to begin with. I mean, it wasn't a bad one. The shot misses on the M46 pattern, but such is life. It wasn't a bad tank to begin with. I made that one went in. I made an earlier video on the T-62A stating strong tank, let's buff more, because of course you need to have a strong tank. While Entity Gaming has done it says 45 or whatever, but it's probably 300 to 350 more. Let's say he's on 400 damage, and there's 2.5 minutes gone. Great team says the Kampfpanzer Cavalry. This is an epic game to watch. All the shenanigans are going on in chat, all the jabber and the shouting and the insulting. Oh, you've gone to the other flank, I'm going to die now, and you are to blame. I don't know how to play, but I'm still going to blame you. That's what they're saying now, basically. See, there we go, 62. I digress. What was I saying? Wargaming buffed the tank. They gave it a brilliant gun. It still has that great monster turret. It now has 7 degrees of gun depression as well. So the tank has become more flexible. The tank has become a little bit easier to play, and there's going to be a few shots like this, not this one, but there's going to be a few shots here that Entity is going to get off because he has 7 degrees of gun depression, but he's probably used to playing the tank in 5 degrees gun depression, so sometimes you go into a position and you're just driving, you're just figuring out what to do. Well, he has to do 1 versus 5 now. You're just figuring out what to do, and you're not used to 7 degrees of gun depression yet. This shot would maybe have been possible with 5 degrees of gun depression, but take a look at that bar at the bottom. You can see when he is able to get a shot off or not, when the gun depression is going to hit and when it is not going to hit. These shots, these are just so comfortable to make now. This is, of course, very fun as well. Not only does the T-62A have a strong turret, it also has a Russian engine deck, so it's going to bounce. And this is great stuff too. Look at this, what he's doing. He's using his gun barrel to block shots that the Arc Tiger is shooting at him, and when he clears the Arc Tiger, puts it back into a 1 versus 4. But as I've said, shots like this, they are really comfortable to make using the 7 degrees of gun depression. You can hide your lower hull just a little bit better. You still have that low slung profile with that rock hard turret. But, as I've said before on Bushka's video in a comment, if Wargaming keep buffing the tank, I mean, I understand what they want to do. They want to make tanks desirable for people to play. They want to diversify the number of tanks in the game. They want to have people playing several tanks, so people stay in the game, etc, etc. They will grind more. Ooh, there's the waffle. Let's kill him. Got tough. They want to have people playing several tanks, because that's good for the game, that is good for the company, that is something that is desirable for them. And it of course also diversifies the games themselves. But if wargaming do not start educating people on how to use ammo, on how to use gun depression, on how to use map awareness, HE shells, whatever the lot, resetting camo, not sitting in plain sight of a tank, if they do not try to figure out something on spotting, if they do not tell people how that works. I mean, what have they still haven't told us that the light bulb has a 3-second delay. Why do they not do that? Yes, they tell it in those little tips down below, but as far as I know, in the tutorial, there's nothing that says, hurry when you see the light bulb because you have been spotted already. They might want to change that, just make it instantly, but that's a whole different subject. What I'm on about is that if wargaming do not tell people how to use the tanks, how to play the game, you can just keep buffing tanks and then nothing will change. And this Death Star, well, good on him trying to win the game, going into the cap, but yeah, it alerts people that they are there. And if he would sit behind the rocks in the middle, then he would have been able to maybe capture and really draw Entity out in the open. But if you do not do that, then it's just a matter of Entity being able to shoot you easily, because he has a laser beam gun now, and the FE is dead. And this, remember guys, ladies and gentlemen, tankers of this universe, and maybe some girls as well, this was a 1 versus 5. It's now a 1 versus 1. You gotta be kidding me. Oh, hello Conqueror. Yes, shoot him once. There we go. He still needs 2 shots. He can take one from the Conqueror if the Conqueror rolls low. Yes! Manages to dodge the shot, and there we go. 7 seconds. Got puff, gun in the air, great carry there, 5,693 damage on the counter, and in total it is nearly 6k. Well deserved mastery as well. Thank you for sending that one in Entity Gaming YT. But yes, wargaming, thank you for the buff, 7 degrees of gun depression, that's lovely, but please educate the player base. My name is martindoggerwotb. I catch you all on the next video. Cheers, happy tanking lads.